This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, good Friday morning and welcome to Open Line. Surprise, Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly today on what has been affectionately termed in many corners as Come On With It Friday. You may have heard that term before. So we head into the long Labor Day weekend for many, not everyone, that's for sure. I'm always wary when I say to anybody, it's Friday, Happy Friday, or TGIF, or the weekend. But we know a lot of people are carrying 1, 2, 3, many jobs on the side. Yours truly included. So there's all kinds of stuff on the go to weekend, on the labor front, of course, and we'll get into that. Looking forward to anyone who would like to carry the flag or the placard for Labor Day today and all the workers in the province, because without them we would be nowhere. And as I said, there's a lot to come on with. Let's see. So I am too very much a sports hound. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Sports is about, as much the epitome of reality TV for me. It doesn't compare to the other stuff like produced and highly edited and scripted reality TV shows. So I'm old enough to vividly recall the ABC's Wild World of Sports and its famous moniker, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. The latter, insert Maple Leafs here. Overall, local sports, if there's anything, any accomplishment, tournament, event, give me a shout. Tell us all about it. When I fill in for Paddy like this, it's hard to stay on top of everything that's occurring outside of what I'm covering as a reporter. So I try to dip in here and there and try to keep on top of things. But local sports-wise, it's not like it was back in the day when I worked for the Telegram, where the calls would be coming in fast and furious everywhere, all corners of the province, and we'd rush out a newspaper with every single minor sports score you could imagine. And that was not for the faint of heart. Those were wild times. But today, there's still lots of ways electronically to get it to us. So here at openline.ca, openline@vocm.com, 1-888. Oh, my gosh. It's been so long. I got to look up the numbers. 273-5211, locally 709. If you want to give us a shout here on the show. In the meantime, quick check on the U.S. Open, the final major of the ATP WTA tennis season. And Canadians are looking pretty good. We now have 3. I've tried to do a quick check to see when was the last time we had 3 into the main draw, into the third round. But both Denis Shapovalov, and FAA, Felix Auger-Aliassime, on the men's side, made it through yesterday. I don't know how Felix did it. That was a Houdini act. And Leylah Fernandez on the women's side. And interestingly enough, Fernandez is also into the next round in women's doubles with, wait for it, the great Venus Williams. And that just came about, on short notice. Talk of a phone call late at night. Next thing you know, there were a couple in doubles, in women's doubles, and they won their match the other day. Venus Williams, mind you, 45 years old. 14 Grand Slam titles in women's doubles. She got her wild card into the singles draw this time, which is just a great, spectacle just to see her back still on that court at 45 years old. And her and Leylah knocked off a legitimate contender in doubles, and they're moving on to the second round. So that'll be fun to watch, as well as FAA and Chapeau moving into the next rounds. Jays are back at it tonight after a day off yesterday. Still hanging tough in the toughest division in MLB, if you ask me. But the Red Sox and Yanks hot on the heels, just a few games back now as we head into the final stretch and the playoffs. Looks like we should at least be there. If nothing else, a wild card, that would suggest there's a total collapse before. And the last thing you want to do is not be on a roll when you head into the playoffs. A few things still to iron out. The bullpen showed some cracks again this week against the Twins. Not sure. Mr. Hoffman there, our quote-unquote closer, blew a big one and then came back and what's the word for it? He redeemed himself in the Wednesday night game. Crazy comeback, 9-8, but he still picked up the save in that one. So back on track. Let's see if they can pull out a nice weekend A nice series at home. And Vladdy, still not right in my mind, to borrow a phrase from Buck Martinez. In my mind, he's performed above average on many fronts. You look at his numbers, and they're great numbers, but that fear of him on deck for the opposition, just not there for me anymore. He's not the feared entity on deck next that he might have been. Right now, it's more like Bo Bichette, who can't miss when there's people on base. So, anyway, we can talk Jays if you want. We could talk any kind of sports. You name it, I'm up for it. Sports, any subject, you got it. Beth is there to take your call. Beth, filling in all this week. Let's see. And let's see. Now, we have Linda Swain out of our newsroom today, our crack reporter who has, I don't know how she pumps out as much news as she does, but she does it. And so I don't know how the newsroom is surviving. Of course, great. Sarah Strickland, Brian Medora on tap, and Richard Duggan taking care of the newsroom. But Linda's on her way out to Conception Bay North. I'm sure she's there now. And there's a news conference scheduled for 10 o'clock this morning out there. Now, the reception isn't isn't the best, we all know. So we're going to try to hook up with Linda, who's out there, as well as along with a lot of residents who are now have the permission and the to enter back into what many people can only describe as a war zone. And, you don't like to throw around those terms very easily. And I haven't been there personally. I've seen video, and it's slowly but surely, the more that it comes out and the more actual pictures we see, this isn't the wildfires of California where we've seen devastation. This is our backyard. And it just swept through and took no mercy on some and did on others. No rhyme or reason to it. So really, really difficult times out there as people return and look what they've lost and come to reality with years and decades of homes and mementos and pictures. And I was listening yesterday, some people, we all have pictures and that sort of thing on our phones and but the most valuable ones, if you haven't, there's lots of services out there that can convert actual photographs and old Polaroids and photo albums into, electronic means so you can have them forever. But a lot of people don't. They have them sitting around in boxes like I do and others, things that are really special to you, kids stuff, sitting in special places in your home that don't account for events like this where you got to get out and the next thing you know, it's all gone. So, and please, I'm only going to say this once, and if you want to chime in, by all means. But people taking advantage of other people when they're at their lowest and going through the hardest time of their lives, maybe it's a good thing I don't get it, because then I'd be on that level and I'd understand their thinking. But it is scary stuff to think that people are out looting or stealing stuff from people who have already lost just about everything, if not everything. And the only thing is not lost, maybe an ATV or something, they're taking it. I mean, it just defies any kind of logic or human. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm very rarely at a loss for words, but just following all of this week from on the periphery and not necessarily being here on the front lines of Open Line, it's just watching it and listening to it. It's really hard to come to grips with. And Linda Swain is out there, and she's going to, no doubt, draw a very vivid picture for us if and when we can get a hold of her. Because as I said, this highlights an issue, that there is poor cell reception out in that area, and maybe that'll be something else that comes out of this that we can focus on. But right now, it's all about the people who've lost either everything or almost everything out there and are just trying to find their way through, let alone with the school year about to start. So it's a conglomeration of difficulties for people out there, and we only wish them the best. If you are able to, and you want to try to, put it into words what this has meant to you, and you've been affected by the wildfires, by all means, we are here for that very reason. Let's see, what else have I got on my notes here, Beth? Got a couple of calls. We're going to get to them as quick as we can, because this is all about the callers and not about me. Of course, it's the Labor Day weekend, so, as I mentioned, anyone on the labor front. I know we had some of the big players and big hitters on the morning show this morning with Jerry Lynn. But by all means, I'm open to another chat about that and the importance. I do recall a couple of years ago, we always talk about Labor Day weekend and the importance of safety and all that sort of thing. on the job. But then you may recall a couple of years ago the explosion had come by chance on a Friday afternoon, the weekend before Labor Day weekend. I hate to bring it up, but it needs to be first and foremost in our mind that these things happen, and that happened at the most ironically difficult time that it could have possibly happened. We know that a man was killed and many others were injured. And that's still working its way through the courts, by the way, which I'm trying to keep an eye on in the Clarenville provincial courts out there. So, again, any talk on the Labour front and safety, first and foremost, will be all over that. Let's see. And does it feel like an election is coming or two? Maybe, Beth? What do you think? Sorry, I'll say this again, and I get an opportunity to here now, but I'll say it to anyone who's listening. Election signs drive me nuts. Batty. I know it works. Clearly it works. Otherwise, people wouldn't be spending the money on them and sending crews out to build them. We know there are, over the years, there have been better restrictions on where those signs are placed. If this is something that bugs you as much as me, I'm all over that one too. There are some rules and regulations, safety-wise, intersections. You can't have them blocking certain sight lines, so you can't make a turn safely. And that's not necessarily what people are thinking. People without the engineering know-how, when they're putting these up, they look around and they go, oh, yeah, they should be able to see their way through that. But when you get to an intersection and you're stopped at a light or in the right lane, which sometimes doesn't happen, people will be in half and half a lane and block up Kenmouth Road, but that's another tangent I'll go off on later. If that's something that bothers you, and it bothers me because I've had a couple of close calls, and nothing personal to the sign itself and whose face is on it, and that's the other thing. The easy, if you call it graffiti that can end up on some of them are pretty funny. There's one in town, I know people have seen it. There's a great handlebar mustache put on a certain person on a sign downtown. They probably removed it by now, but hey, not right, but that was pretty funny. And so, if you want to talk elections, municipal, provincial, I noticed this week, of course, Deputy Mayor Sheila O'Leary stepped down. That was coming anyway, so she can run into the election. And if you're up for it, I'm sure there are a few people out there who'd like to get their platforms out there. And just a little note I'll say for municipal politicians, and this one is just something that always bugs me in the city. You see developments in various neighborhoods and streets and that sort of thing, and after all is said and done, the laterals go in. The laterals being the pipes that, connect all the houses. They go underneath the streets, go from one side to the other. And, it's on the contractors to when they have to dig those up, put in new pipes or replace pipes, or for new homes or whatever, it's on them to replace the pavement the way it was. But boy, oh boy, more often than not, it is not put back the way it was. And my mechanic in my garage know all about it. So and those are called the laterals. I don't know if a lot of people know what they're called. I only learned it over through, I'm no engineer, municipal or otherwise, but through covering city council over the years. It always fascinated me that's on, of course, the contractor, but, the city should hold them to the fire, 2 feet to the fire if they don't put it back the way they do, and it's usually just an afterthought to construction companies. That's just, they'll do whatever they got to do just to put the pavement back, and then in a couple of weeks, it's down about half a foot, and you're losing your front end. So just something else to throw on the platform for any electioneers out there. Let's see. How we doing, Beth? We got a couple of calls in the queue. Let's not dilly-dally anymore. Get off to the first break of the morning and come back with your calls. Brian Callahan in for Patty Daly on Open Line this morning. We'll be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
And welcome back to the show. Let's go right to line 2. And Darryl, you're on the air.
Well, hi, Brian. How are you today?
Grand, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you. And thanks for having me on your show.
No worries. I hear you got some company in the background there.
Yes. I see someone going down the road there and gone to another room. It was more quieter.
No, that's fine.
What I'm calling about is the Upper Churchill deal and how I think and other people think is being rushed and being fast-paced and to me is not good because when you look at the whole picture, you look like now a lot of people are chiming in on it, like Danny Williams, Ches Crosby, Jack Harris, Bernard Coffey, top civil servants, and I think everybody cannot be wrong with this. And if we don't take our time and do this right, we don't want to repeat after the 1969 deal. And once the deal is done, We've done it over the years, challenged it in the courts, and we never got nowhere with it. And as a matter of fact, Quebec didn't even want to come to the table and talk to us. But now the reason why they're talking to us now, because they need more hydro, and they need our asset. So the ball's in our court, and we got to take our time and do this right, because they need more hydro. There's more demand on hydro now, especially for EV vehicles, and they need more just to, if they wanted to send it down to the U.S. market, whatever. And now they're looking at our critical minerals, which I'm hearing from an MP up in Labrador recently on Tim Power saying that Labrador won't benefit. But so why are we rushing this? And there's another thing I don't agree with Premier Hogan. He said that we got to make this deal or Quebec's going to go elsewhere. They're not going nowhere. They need Upper Churchill power. They're not going to go nowhere else. And another thing I don't agree with, he's going to make this an election issue, and that is totally wrong, too. It should be put to the people of the province of Newfoundland, Labrador. It should go to a referendum and educate people, okay, this is what is proposed. This is the actual deal. And this is what should be done. And if he puts it as an election issue, I don't know, like a lot of people, you don't hear from a lot of people, but they're saying the same thing. This is a lot of people don't agree with this deal. And if you got all these top people now are voicing against it, I mean, there's something not right. So why not, Premier Hogan, why not talk to Danny Williams or Jack Harris or Ches Crosby or Bernard Coffey or whatever? Sit down and have a discussion with all these people, because this asset is, the government got to remember, this asset is owned by the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, the taxpayers. We own the asset. So if they don't have the right to negotiate, and this is a bad deal. And not only that, 50-year deal, what, 50 years? A lot of things could change. Look at the 1969 deal. They thought it was a good deal at the time. Then in the 70s it changed, and look how lopsided it went. It went more in favor of Quebec than Newfoundland and Labrador, so why another 50? Do it a short term, even if it was 5 or 10 years, but 50 years? I think this is going to go lopsided again, and most people feel the same thing. And, we got to get this right, because you look at all the assets we got in this province, besides hydro, we got forestry, we got critical minerals, we got it all. And if we had all those assets and it was negotiated right and done right, we shouldn't be paying no taxes here in this province. We should be money in the bank. But everything is just like gone out the door. So like, it's time now for all these mishaps to stop, and we got to get it right. If not, not only we're going to pay the price, but future generations are going to pay the price as well. So, Premier Hogan, let's get this right. Talk to the people. There's no harm having the input, and it's no harm to come back and say, well, this is not so good after all. We'll have to re-examine all this. There's no harm in that. The main thing is, I don't care what political stripe. Everybody got the same attitude towards all this. Look, this is our resource. Let's get this right.
Yeah, I was at a news conference earlier this week with the Premier, and the issue came up. I don't personally see how this can be an election issue. Me.
Right.
Everybody acknowledges at this point, including our own government, that these are quote-unquote aggressive timelines, and they're saying that more and more and louder, and they're reiterating it. So my feeling, as you pointed out, some heavy hitters out there, people with knowledge of this, people who are the same voices around Muskrat Falls, no one can blame us for being careful. We are so gun-shy about these large, massive projects, and this one being, called probably the most important one in the history of the province. Again, let's getting it right. The problem is knowing whether we're getting it right or not. Let's face it, we don't know. The devil is all in the details, and I stress devil. Quebec's not just interested in that. Look, when you look at the Labrador Trough, which borders both provinces, until they actually acknowledge the border, the Privy Council border from decades ago, and I've asked Premier Legault at a briefing. And, I wasn't there this week to ask him again. Apparently, he wasn't even taking questions. That'll tell you, to me, that speaks volumes. Don't take questions.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But in any event, the fact that, He was talking about the Labrador Trough, and the minerals wasn't even one of the subjects that was mentioned when news broke that he was coming here. Hydro wasn't. It was talk about, we're going to discuss other things such as critical minerals. So, more and more negotiations are going on as Quebec eyes more of Labrador as they are, whether it's for hydro development, whether it's for critical minerals. I mean, we know it was just signed. The Germans just signed a massive deal. Carney was over there for that. The critical minerals are where it's going, and we have them. And is it no wonder that Quebec's coming, not just talking about hydro, but also critical minerals? And let's just hope that the border never becomes an issue, because as I was about to say a minute ago, and I lost my train of thought, but when I asked Legault last year, when he was here in the province with Premier Fury, he didn't want to talk about it then either. He said, no, that's not an issue for today, some other day. And both of them sort of shrugged it off and moved on. But not answering yes or no to that question, do you acknowledge the actual border? Without a yes or a no, that concerns me. It should concern everyone. It's a simple answer, and when they don't answer, you wonder. So let's just hope. We have leaders. We elect them for a reason. People with expertise. And we do elect them. It's still a democracy, and we have to accept. The current premier hasn't been elected under an election. We will acknowledge that. And again, with an election coming so soon and talk of aggressive timelines, I find it counterintuitive to be calling it, to say that this is going to be the number one election issue when we just don't know where it's going and how it will end up. And the details.
And I totally agree with you, Brian. Everything you said, you hit it right on the mark. And getting back to Premier Legault, action speaks for itself. So he didn't take any questions. Answer speaks to itself. And another thing I'll address on Premier Legault, he's sinking in the polls big time. And he got an election coming up next year, and he got to do something to get his polling up as well. So people got to realize he's sinking in the polls. He's desperate to do something so he can get reelected again. But as you just said, I mean, we got to get this right, and we're putting timelines like next April and like you said. But I don't agree. People don't agree making this an election issue, because a lot of people don't know the details of the MOU. So one thing, educate people. This is what's actually in the details. Two, it should go to a referendum to the people of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, because it's our asset. The taxpayers own that asset, not the government itself, the taxpayers of this province. So it should be fair and square with it all. It should go to a referendum, not an election issue, because if he puts it to an election issue, I'm going to tell you now, a lot of people, that could backfire on him as well. So he better sit back and do a lot of thinking and soul searching, and listen to the top dogs. And I left out a couple more people like David Barty. I listened to him there the other morning. Man, he's well versed on all this, and I listened to him in depth, and he makes total sense, and he got it down pat. And fellows like Des Sullivan, all these people, in addition to what I named off there. So, I mean, they're not all wrong. I mean, there's something not right with this picture. They wouldn't just come out and say for the sake of saying it. There's something to it. So, Premier Hogan, start listening to all these people. Listen to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador with this, because if you're getting aggressive with timelines and rush, man, once a deal's done, there's no good to go back to the courts and start challenging things like they done before. Once the deal's done, it's done. There's no changing it.
Yeah, and you could go back to the courts, but we know that that's glacial in its speed. And, Legault has other stuff going on, too. He's supposed to testify at the Gallant Commission next week in Quebec, and that's a whole other catastrophe that went on in Quebec regarding their cybersecurity digital platform that was supposed to streamline, all these processes, right. Automobile insurance, all that. There's a scandal going on in Quebec, and I believe he's going to testify next week in that. So he's got other things on his plate as well, needless to say. And then, you look back, I remember the news conference just, earlier this year with Michael Sabia, the former Hydro-Quebec CEO.
Right.
It always bugs me that things they know that they don't tell us. I mean, they know so, again, I've said this before, and I know there are certain things that have, privacy and commercial interests and all that sort of thing. Well, we get that. But, when they're sitting there and he knows he's leaving as the Hydro-Quebec CEO, and he's here for this big announcement, and more updates on the project and everything else, And then the following week, he's out. He's gone. He knew he was going. Didn't tell anyone. That kind of like too cute by half. And now there's a new CEO, and she was here earlier this week with Legault. There's just so much that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know, and we don't find out until after the fact. And if you don't ask the right question, you never get the right answer or the important answer. And that game that goes on in politics will forever and a day drive me to, I was going to say the mental, but that. Anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? I know what you're saying, because you beat me to the punch on that one. I was going to bring up that exact same thing. So now he's going to be Mark Carney's, I guess, right-hand man, or whatever you want to call it. And like you said, they never mention nothing about that when they're down negotiating. So behind the scenes, this is not very good. We better be very diligent in what we're doing and be very careful. And where they're not getting, where a lot of people are not getting this, that if you work together as a team and do great deals, not only Newfoundland and Labrador benefits, but the whole country benefits. Absolutely.
So they got to start getting with the program. But I mean, and another thing I'll mention too, Brian, I'm not hearing nobody chiming in on this. None of the federal politicians, and even on the provincial level, might have been like one or two maybe, but where's all the federal politicians on either side, the Liberals or the PCs? I'm not hearing no one chiming in on this as well. And why they're not chiming in, I don't know, but they should be chiming in on this as well.
And the MPs,
everybody got chiming on this.
Yeah, I got to get off the break, but just on that note, they're probably not chiming in, Darryl, because there's no federal election coming. That's why you're not hearing from MPs on it. It's, under the radar until you have to.
Yeah, it's under the radar. And this is another thing. I'll make it short and sweet. This could be discussed for another time. I think when MPs get elected and they don't do the job and not wait the 4-year term and whatever, if they don't do their job, provincial or federal level, they should be fired.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the private sector, you don't do the job, same thing. And same thing, legislation should be brought in, same thing. If you don't do your job, then you leave your post. Yeah,
that can be a very subjective, decision or assessment of somebody not doing their job, depending on what they're supposed to be doing. There's some jobs you can count how many things were done, and that's it. But whether a politician is doing their job or not, they're the only person that decides that is the election box. So there you go, Darryl. I got to get off to the break. Great call. Thanks so much for starting off the show for me today.
No, not a problem, and thank you for having me on your show as well, Brian, and all the best to you and the staff at VOCM and your listening audience, and have a great long weekend.
Right back at you, Darryl. Thanks very much. All right, let's take that break, Beth. Right back to the show after break.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show. And I meant to mention this off the top because it's not small potatoes, but it's just so much on the go. And I don't believe it's happened yet, but there is a rocket launch pending on the Burin Peninsula for people who have been following this. And forgive me, this is a bad one, but it's been flying below the radar. Oh, I'm really sorry. In any event, I'm trying to see if it has happened yet. So this is a commercial, basically it becomes Canada's first commercial spaceport down near St. Lawrence. And there is a whole team down there with a rocket ready to go, about 20 feet long, pointed to the skies. Now, it's actually supposed to do a suborbit, so it won't actually go right into orbit, but a couple of kilometers in the air. It won't last long either, probably about a minute, and then it'll splash down. It's a test for Canada's first ever spaceport. The location has everything to do with the ability, the suborbital and all the different astrological, not the word I'm looking for. God, it's Friday. In any event, the experts have deemed that this to be, one of the best sites around, this part of the world to conduct these kind of launches, to eventually be able to send various things into space from this commercial spaceport near the St. Lawrence area. Nord Space is the company, founded in 2022. And a rocket entirely built in Canada. A portion of 3D printed metals was involved. Now, the launch, of course, was originally scheduled for Monday. But, what a shock. Our weather sort of put that off. As great as the site is, the weather will always be an issue here. So that's still an issue. But this morning, the window today is between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m., I think. our time. And there is a live stream on, that you can watch on the Nord Space site. And so, they're there, they're walking around the site, and they're getting ready, and I just don't have anything official from the site as of right now, but we're keeping an eye on it, and I'll do my best during the show, and I know the newsroom is trying to keep an eye on it as well. But there is a live stream, and there could be a rocket launch right near St. Lawrence this morning, if I had a rocket to launch. I was going to say a rocket launcher, but that's a Coburn. Okay, anyway, my apologies to Edward on line 1. Edward, you're on the air.
Okay. Good morning, Brian. How are you doing today, bye?
Good, bye. You're down in Garnish on the Barron Peninsula, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Any rockets? Any spot any rocket sightings by any chance?
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think there's.
I want to talk to you about my little problem. And 2 days ago, I got my Canada pension check, and I did my grocery shopping and my banking. Then I went over to the weed store and I bought some weed, and I was required to provide my valid ID. So I showed them my driver's license. Look, I'm 79, so I'm over 19. I'm way over 19. And I bought some weed, and that was it. Well, yesterday I went in to see my doctor and get some medication and prescription. Then I went over to the weed store again to get some more cannabis product. And again, they asked me for my driver's license or a valid ID, and I refused to show it to them, and they refused to sell me cannabis. Now, that to me is a violation of my rights.
It's okay. So, as with everything here, I'm going to try to play catch up on this one. I know there are pretty specific rules and regulations regarding, alcohol to begin with, and now cannabis, of course, since it's been decriminalized and legalized. So, how it can be sold, where it can be sold, and all the rest of it is one thing. Identification has become. Edward, I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I was in downtown Toronto for a Jays game and a show, and it occurred to me it's not like downtown St. John's. There isn't a Needs on the corner where you can go grab a half dozen beer for your hotel room, before you go to the game. So I go over, and I was in my late 40s at the time, and I got ID'd, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Jesus, I didn't know I looked that young, but thank you, really appreciate it. And the guy reminded me, he said, we just have to ask everybody. It's not how you look. Sometimes it's just the person themselves. And ID identifies not just how you look or your age at the time, but your background and everything else that's involved. So, so it goes beyond just, you don't look old enough, so no ID. And I know what you're saying. And again, I wish I had an expert sitting right next to me on this.
The thing I like to know is when I asked them about this, they just said, well, it's the law. I mean, they didn't tell me why the government of Newfoundland, especially the liquor board, wants this ID. I mean, are they telemarketing it? Are they turning it over to the police that if you get stopped, in your vehicle, they run the tag and this guy here uses cannabis, so he may be under the influence. I could see all that, but the thing is, it's a violation of my rights. To ask me every time I buy cannabis to produce my ID. I mean, what do they need that information for? Why is the government of Newfoundland interested in me buying cannabis all the time? Why? I just like to know why.
Yeah, I feel like I've gone through this, that I've asked this question at a news conference. I just can't remember what the specific answer was. I do know it goes deeper than just. I do know that it's, if you're just relying on what you look like and that sort of thing, or how old you look is one thing, but there are other protections around this, and it's still very new. Cannabis being, purchased and legalized and decriminalized and that sort of thing. So
I know. If you're out on bail, you probably can't buy cannabis. If you're on parole or on probation, there are limits on your probation or parole that you have to go by, and there may be something in there that you may be not be able to buy cannabis.
But there's also that's not something that a retailer can check on the spot either. They don't have they don't have access to, say, the police CPIC system,
but the police, when they stop you, they have.
Oh, sure.
Don't have tags on our license plate anymore. They they run the plate, and after they get the plate, they got your criminal history, they got your ticket history, you got any wants or warrants. They know everything about you before they even come over and ask you for your license.
Well, that's right, because they can do all of that to even save them the time of even having to pull you over. Because we know all the time they'll follow a car for a while, check the plate. If there's an issue, they can quickly decide whether or not it's worth to pull that car over, because those stops take 15, 20 minutes, and maybe they're on the way to something more important. But
there is more important things out there than just giving me a traffic ticket.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still part of the law.
The only thing that I'm questioning is, why does the government of Newfoundland need my information when I buy cannabis? What are they doing with it? I don't know. That's the thing. I mean,
they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything with it. It's the individual retailer who's asking you for an ID and then just wants to match up you with your face. And I mean, there are fake IDs out there. There are people using fake IDs for all kinds of things, whether or not it's, just for everything. They have to, by law, ask for the ID. All the different reasons why they have to. I'd love for someone else in the provincial government licensing to give me a shout and just go through it, because I'm not in that division. But I can say that, the more safe...
When you go and buy alcohol, do they ask you for your license or a valid ID there?
As I mentioned, this is relatively new, the cannabis supply in actual stores and in our society.
I've been in cannabis there since the store opened up, and I've been using my credit card to buy it. I'm using my ATM card to buy it, and I've been using cash.
And I'm sure you are a responsible consumer of that product, but there are some people who are not.
I do have a back-related injury from northern Ontario in Ontario.
Yeah,
I do need it for that. It does help me out. I don't use the strong painkillers. I use Tylenol 3s too, but I don't use the strong ones. I just like to keep this stuff, locally and mild and happy, and just keep me... just keep it working. As long as everything's fine. I went and saw my doctor yesterday. My blood pressure's normal. I'm in great shape. I'm 79. Hey, I'm doing good.
Yep, and I know. I mean, medicinally, there's no question.
The Newfoundland need my cannabis information.
Yeah, well, look, I welcome anyone with a little bit more specificity on this issue, like who can just drill down and give me the exact. I don't have it in front of me. I tried to do a quick couple of searches while talking to you, but then I'm not really listening to you. So I don't like trying to Google stuff or look around for stuff while I'm talking. I'd rather just have chat. But the specifics of the actual reasons in the legislation, I'm not sure we can go right to the fact that it is against your rights. Those things are in place, and when it comes to drugs, whether it's legal or not, I'm okay with a little bit more hypersensitivity about who's buying it on a regular basis, popping into the store to pick it up. We know underage is a problem. We know that as you said, there are other people out there who probably don't want to be identified. And that's when you don't have an ID to present. That can also be a red flag for a retailer. So, the question is there. I'm not sure every single retailer acts the same way. Obviously, if they know you to pieces, you're probably not having that problem. But maybe, I'll have to look up the legislation, specific legislation on it.
I just want to throw this out to you because I am concerned about my rights as a citizen. I mean, why should the government be so impounded? I mean, are they selling this stuff to a marketer, or are they? I hate to repeat myself, especially on the program here.
No, it's okay.
But they, But yesterday there was somebody on there that had a problem with Newfoundland Hydro, and they were going to cut his power off, but they had his driver's license, so they could do that. I don't know. I didn't get all the information on it. I was busy getting my doctor's appointment, but.
Yeah, and I was in court yesterday, so I didn't hear that call, so I can't even speak to it. But I appreciate it.
But the thing is, why does the government need this? Really, I'm going to have to let you go because I got other things I got to do today, and I know that you're pretty busy, and Labor Day weekend is coming up. And there's one thing I want to mention about the gun laws in the United States, though, because I lived down in the United States for a while, and the gun laws there, I'll tell you how crazy they are. They're so crazy down there, they gave me a pistol permit.
I'm not sure what that says, Edward, about yourself.
I know, but, down there, everybody down there has guns. They had yesterday on the radio, they were saying that there's more guns in the United States than there's population.
Yeah, Edward, and we need look no far and no more reminders as just the shooting in Minnesota this week at the church and school, Catholic school church in Minnesota, where 2 children were killed. I mean, look, gun laws and guns are another kettle of you-know-what. But I got to get off to the break. And you got stuff to do.
I'm glad I live in Newfoundland here, and in Canada, where it's a lot safer than it is in the United States.
Well, I'll take that.
Much, and I appreciate your call, and I appreciate talking to you.
I appreciate the call, too.
And to all your listeners, have a good Labor Day weekend. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Right back at you, Edward. And no worries about going on, bringing up that issue about ID. That's what Open Line is all about, people. Bring up the topic. I will not pretend to have the answer to every question or every issue that comes up here. Just doing my best off the top of my head. But the issue is out there. The question is out there. Anyone, whether it's from government, somebody has that information specifically, just so they can drill down. We know the general reason why you'd want an ID. Liquor stores, always. And now the advent of cannabis can't seem like a bad thing to me. I'm not sure whether it infringes on rights, but I'll leave that to the listeners and anyone who would like to call up and clarify that whole issue, Kettlewax, of IDs for cannabis. Okay, a little bit past the break, Beth. So sorry. Let's take the break, and we're back with Stan, who wants to talk about housing and homelessness.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly today. Let's go right to line number 3. And Stan, you're on the air.
Hello there, Brian. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for your patience.
No problem at all. Bit nervous there. First-time caller, long-time listener.
No worries.
I wanted to talk about the housing and homeless and all that. I know you guys get those calls all the time. But I've been thinking, I drive out to Whitburn almost every weekend, right, from St. John's.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of open land there. I mean, you know yourself, you go on the highway, I mean, it goes as far as you can see, just woods, right? I've always thought, how come we don't take down some trees and make a little shelter there, maybe some buildings and something like that we can put the homeless in and get them working and give them a sense of, self-accomplishment if they have them, say, cutting down trees or something like that, rather than just, because my woman, she lives downtown, and I always have to go down there. And, I mean, just seeing them around her neighborhood and stuff like that, I mean, it's really bad down there, right? And it's not good on the head, I mean, you think about it and, what have they gone through in their life to be down there like that? You know what I mean? And I just feel like we could be doing a lot more for them. We could have buildings for them to stay in. I know they do offer shelters down there, but I can tell they obviously don't work. I just feel like we could have some sort of open areas off the highway somewhere where we can have them, and not like a camp or anything like that, but kind of homey, and have them doing work stuff to give them a sense of self-accomplishment and stuff like that, right? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my first thought is people who are homeless are going through a lot. They're in that situation, as you rightly pointed out, for one reason or another. I'm not sure how many are in the position that they could actually go do work and cut down trees and clear land. But look, I get your point. We're all looking for options. We have a crisis, a housing crisis. There is no question. Federal government wouldn't have come up with something called the Accelerator Fund if it wasn't. We all know that it's an issue. I live downtown. So it is in my sight lines every day, every morning, every hour. I'm walking home, and I'll walk into my front step, and there are people passing right in front of my front step, and I walk into my door. I mean, look, it's not out of sight, out of mind, as once it used to be, which was the easy way to dismiss it, right?
Right.
But now it's right in front of us, and it's always been there. It's just that, unfortunately, it took us some of us, a long time to, grow some morality and really take it seriously. And it really didn't even hit home until it started affecting us. Some people, whether it's the crime and the violence and all that's associated with it, and that's the only thing that spurred some people to get to really get the ball moving. Other people more socially conscious, like the homelessness the homelessness St. John's or homelessness. Oh my God. The titles of organizations and everything have to come to my head right away when I'm not into the mix. Yeah. But all the different organizations, great organizations that we have out there that are working hard on these issues. Talking about getting out of town and clearing land and building homes. I mean, there are different initiatives ongoing. There are small homes that are being. There's one company, I think it's Homeworks, that's working with the provincial government on these smaller, tidy, small, compact homes, mini homes, if you call them. Can't think of all the terminology right now. Some people are yelling at the radio, but I just can't remember. But you know what I'm talking about. These smaller homes that can just at least be some sort of housing. And they're looking everywhere for these kinds of accommodations. So it's not like nothing's going on. And I would say they'd accept any idea that's out there. And I don't think anything should be dismissed out of hand. Not when you have, as you just quite rightly pointed out, some pretty difficult and desperate situations right there in front of us on the streets of St. John's and other towns and cities right across this province and country.
Oh, yeah. It's unfortunately happening all across the island. The drug epidemic and all that stuff is very bad right now. I know when I go and pick up my woman or, drop her off or whatever, there's people lunched over and they're, and I just feel like if we had them in a spot where they felt off the streets more accomplished, they wouldn't have the urge to do what they're doing, if they had I know that they have the gathering place down there and that's where a lot of them hang out. But I just feel like it's not working. I wanted to mention too, I heard on the radio on Open Lawn yesterday, Patty was talking about there's 720,000 international students coming in or something like that.
Yeah.
They're always bringing in these people. I mean, that's almost 1 million people. I mean, they're going to give all them homes and stuff like that. And not to say they don't deserve it or anything like that, but I just mean what about our people that are down there homeless on the street that are, some of them are not even on drugs. Some of them are old veterans or something like that. You know what I mean? And I just feel like they're not getting the love or care that they deserve. I mean, some of them that are on drugs, they don't really want the help. They just, they go down to the gathering place for something to eat and, then go off and do their thing and stuff like that. But I truly feel like if we took them off the street from downtown, away from their sources, their drugs and stuff like that, then maybe they would feel a bit better, kind of like I don't know. I just feel like, if I was in that position and someone gave me the opportunity to go somewhere and, build houses or do this or do that out in the woods. I mean, like I said, you're going on the highway and the land just goes as far as you can see. It's just nothing but open woods and land and stuff. I mean, we can definitely do something for them there. I feel like.
Yeah, look, Stan, only because I'm right up to the news here, I'll just say that it starts with your effort, your call this morning. You may not be able to go out and build, and you may not know exactly whether or not there's Crown land or land available to do that kind of thing outside the city. But the most important thing is that you have the sentiment. You're calling because you care. That's where a lot of this starts. The more people who have it top of mind, the quicker we're going to find solutions. Because you're a voter, and you care, and you have ideas. And that's what we need to start with. We need people, individuals, residents who actually care, are turning their minds to this problem, and then it'll all work. But you're absolutely right. You can't just, some people don't want the help. Some people don't want to be in a situation with other people because they can't live in that situation. That goes to mental health and addictions. There's so many different prongs and so many different facets to all of this. It's not an easy fix. It's not just about building a structure and throwing them in there. That's never going to work either. It has to be done in a properly constructed, needs-based format that does its best to suit everybody, and that's an impossibility as it is. Stan, I really got to get off the news. Newsroom's going to kill me. Thanks so much for the call. Really appreciate it. Don't be a stranger. First time caller. We love him.
Awesome. I thank you so much for your time, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Absolutely. Don't be a stranger. Call again. Thanks for going. Okay, that's Stan. Beth, sorry, a couple of minutes over to the newsroom, and Sarah and Brian Medora off to the news.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Bigland FM radio network.
Welcome back to the program. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly today. Of course, just want to mention there is a news conference just was scheduled for 10. I believe it's ongoing now regarding the CBN fires out in the area of Salem. So, and Linda Swain, VOCM's Linda Swain is there. We do know cell phone reception is kind of spotty, but if we can reach Linda for a short chat just to give us a picture of what she's seeing out there, whether it's, the visuals at the news conference or whether it's what she's seen along the way getting out there this morning. We know it's nothing short of devastation, but thinking about everyone affected by that today. Paul Dinn is on the line. Paul, you're on the air.
Hi, Brian. How are you doing?
Good, sir. On a Friday, never.
You have a long weekend.
Yeah, well, I'll be looking forward to it. Again, I say, it's not for the faint of heart hosting the show. I don't know how Paddy does it day in, day out, as I can only imagine. But the MHA for Topsail Paradise, PCMHA. How are you, and what's on the mind today?
I'm doing well. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about some parents who are have children returning to school. So I just wanted to call this morning and basically join the many parents who are expressing disappointment over government's failure now to have a school busing plan in place for those who are attending childcare, children in childcare.
Sure. And
you would know, we lobbied hard, and my colleague Gary Petton, in fact, probably longer than me, lobbied hard to have the 1.6 kilometre policy eliminated because, there are school zones where young children have nowhere to walk to school, get to school, and of course in the winter time it becomes even less available. So making sure all children had the opportunity to get to school and take a school bus was the goal of lobbying there. So,
Paul, just a real quick question. I mean, didn't the government eliminate the 1.6 kilometre rule for bus eligibility? Yeah.
They did, and that's the point.
Right.
So when they eliminated it, and they did it in two phases, last year was when they totally had it gone. But what was happening, and we know that childcare centres usually set up or are within close proximity to schools and
right.
that, to young neighborhoods. So what's been happening is the parents now who have children in childcare centres can't get busing to and from their childcare centre. So what's happening is some either have to take time off to run and get their child and bring them from school to childcare and vice versa. And that becomes a real chore for people who are working. And I did an media interview last year on this out by one of these childcare centres, and the buses actually drive right by the centre, and it makes no sense that they cannot stop, and pick up the children. And so now what's happening again, same as last year, we have quite a few parents, especially in my district here, and I've heard from other districts around the province, who are struggling now because in order to get their children on a new stop at a childcare centre or a seat on a bus that goes by a childcare centre, they have to go through a process of applying for a courtesy seat. Because routes right now from Newfoundland schools, that's based on a location of students within their civic address.
Right.
So that's what it's based on. And all bus stops then are determined by NL schools, and any changes requires written authorization. And, so a legal parent or guardian now has to go and apply for a courtesy seat to see if they can get on such a bus or such a stop. And that's going to be 2 to 3 weeks minimum into the school year. And parents then are struggling for these first few weeks. It's an added struggle, and it's an added workload on the school administration, which usually falls on the vice principal to look after this. So we've raised the issue last year. I've written the minister this year. The parents have had a letter campaign and have written the minister back in May and June, with the whole hope that, okay, look, this is not rocket science. This is a pretty simple solution. Over the summer, let's solve this. Let's add a simple address to the NL Schools site that says, okay, here's where I live, but here's where my child is going to be picked up and dropped off, at a child care center. You do the math, you work on your routes, you have them set up. That was the whole intent of what the parents have put forward and that to government. And right now, there's been nothing done. So I'm hearing from parents who are arranging for either trying to hire a bus on their own for the first 2 to 3 weeks. They're planning to put kids in Ubers and taxis, and it's just not acceptable for something that was such an easy solution for parents. So, and most of these are working parents, and a lot of them are single parents. And so, I mean, you think about it. You get your child dropped off at a child care center. You're on your way to work. You would hope that, okay, the bus come by, pick up your child, as well as others there, go on to school. Same thing on the way back. They drop the kids back to that child care center. But what parents are left doing is either waiting to drive their own child to school or having to leave work at the end of the day, pick up their child, get them to the child care center, run back to work, and so on. And it's just not acceptable when there's such a simple solution there to solve this.
Yeah, and Paul, the word simple doesn't often roll off the tongue or lips when it comes to government and action. But, you're closer to this than I am. Again, I hate to keep making excuses, trying to play catch up on some issues here. But, okay, nothing's been done. But what, if any, kind of reception did you receive to this? Is there any openness to actually going down this road, no pun intended? Because we know the system is already rife with issues and individual needs and unique circumstances in all nooks and crannies of this province when it comes to busing. So is it fair to call it simple? Only in the sense, and I'm just being the devil's advocate here because I know I covered the busing issue until it was eliminated a couple of years ago. And there were hallelujahs and the skies parted and the sun beamed through and people couldn't believe, yay, we're finally rid of it. And now we're into another issue regarding childcare centers. So are you being told that the resources just aren't there? The buses aren't there? I mean, and I'm talking inspected buses that don't have issues, as we all know. That's another issue. I saw a lot of buses here for Canada Games, so it looks like there's lots available, whether or not they're all school assigned or not. But you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to get...
I think the response that parents have gotten and they posted it on their site chat line is essentially that, look, there's a policy in place. You have to apply for courtesy seating. That's what we're going to follow. Right. There's really been nothing to say that there's a lack of buses, lack of drivers, because there's always empty seats on these buses. But I guess the point we're getting at is not that buses don't stop at childcare centers, because they do, but it's arranging and getting the routes in place prior to the start of the school year. And, by adding an address and and it could be grandma's house. Yeah. That's the drop-off and pickup point or whatever. And I know, you can't be picking up individuals, but when you've got a cluster of kids that are located in the one area, the one address, which it would be a child care center, it makes, to me, my father would say common sense is not so common, but it makes common sense that you would try to pick up as many kids in a one stop as you could. And, when you're coming in with $10 a day childcare, and childcare, uptake is becoming more and more because it is getting cheaper and cheaper. Well, you have more and more parents who are looking to avail of childcare centers and want to get their kids to and from school safely. And this has just been it was a headache last year. They came in with a temporary solution last year, and now here we are again. The fact of the matter is this issue was brought up in May and June, and you get no reply until the 11th hour.
Paul, is it fair? I don't want to make excuses, but, is it fair to say that the wildfire situation and everything that goes into preparing for schools now, I know it's one area, it's not all over the province that's affected by that, but you can see the resources being funneled that way to deal with, an unexpected occurrence that's not just an occurrence. It's a devastation. And whether it's a school being destroyed by fire or kids having to be moved to other communities and other schools and all that laid on top of the education department, is there any flexibility given that that's happening at the same time?
Well, here's the issue. It shouldn't have happened at the same time. If government is proactive, I call this low-hanging fruit that should have been picked earlier in the year. And had they had this done and out of the way, they would be prepared and able to deal with the terrible situation, on the north, Conception Bay North. It's, you got a school out there with there's no school.
Yeah.
And you're working on that, and you have to work on that. And there's no argument here. The point being made here is this could have been dealt with earlier and allow schools and education to dedicate their time to the more urgent issues, which is, as you said, the relocation of the children from Cabot Academy out there. But I mean, right now, again, we're here at the 11th hour with something that is very, seems to be very easy to have solved, and we're nowhere ahead. And this comes on the heels of the release of the education court yesterday. Yep. And I mean, it doesn't give me any confidence in that accord when some very simple issues that would help the transition of kids into their school year cannot be solved. Something simple like this.
Yeah. Paul, while I got you, I'd be remiss. Where are you on the election? I know there are calls for it to be delayed, given what's happening. What's your thought?
My thought is I'm ready to go whenever it's called. I shouldn't change anything now. I mean, I've had the last 4 years is your record you run on. So I'm ready to go whenever. But you have to take everything into consideration. But right now, I expect the call within the next week or two, and let's go and do it.
Off to the races. All right. Paul Dinn, the MHA, PCMHA for Topsail Paradise. Thanks for the call today. I welcome anyone from government who wants to clarify, the busing situation with childcare and, those empty seats and why, the simple, as you put it, fix can't be put in place. So I welcome anyone from government who wants to clear that up. Thanks for the call, Paul. Appreciate it. Enjoy the long weekend.
You too. All the best.
Thanks very much. Okie doke, Beth. Let's see, a few minutes past the break. Wrap on the knuckles. We'll be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to Open Line. Let's go right to line number 2. And Glenn, you're on the air.
Hey, Brian.
Good morning. Glenn, any chance, are you on speaker? Is there any chance you could...
Hey, Brian, listen, like I was just telling your producer there, I'm in St. Joseph's Island. This is the best that gets, my buddy, in Placentia Bay.
You got it. Go far away.
Right, so hopefully it's coming clear there now?
Yeah, it's great, actually. Jeez, I'll take this anytime.
We're homesteaders, myself and Patricia.
Yep.
Over 60, I spent about, 25 years in Western Canada working, and I'm home, Brian.
Ooh, it sounds like you are happy about that.
Well, in 1968, Joseph R. Smallwood took me out of Mirasheen Island in Placentia Bay and brought me to Placentia. And for Placentia, I think from age 3 to 17, and from then, military, and then off to the mainland to go to work like a lot of Newfoundlanders.
Yeah.
And to come home at this age, Brian,
Yep.
and live this life in Placentia Bay, self-sustained, open the window, 6 o'clock yesterday morning, a big bull moose. I could have knocked him out with a hammer out through my window. Seals follow me around in my Zodiac, my 2 cats, Tony and Rocky. Everybody loves it here.
It sounds like you got her. Sounds like you got her scald.
My good soul message today to Newfoundlanders is, because you're over 60, life's not over. Ours just started. We have vegetable gardens. We pick berries all day, cut firewood. I'm not going to tell you I haven't been hurting, because I'm as sore as the boil after 5 months. It's just different work. This is different. Yeah. This is not easy. So if you're thinking about going to an island and getting into homesteading, best do your research.
What's the first thing you'd tell someone?
Get in shape before you start. And I don't mean going for a walk to Signal Hill or a walk around the lake. I mean serious.
Yeah, get in shape before you start, as opposed to...
5 months ago, I went from 200, and I think I might have been close to about 250 pounds, and now I'm down to a lean, mean fighting machine. Now, I'm not going to say I'm not sore in the morning because this takes a lot of work. And, every morning you get up, there's things to do, but the rewards and the health and the feelings, man, the sunsets, everything. You get so in tuned,
I do know. It's not for everyone. But if you are so inclined and you can get that sort of prompt in your brain that says, okay, I'm going to do this. It's like you said, don't get in shape. Don't do it to get in shape. You got to be in shape before you start to do it because...
And listen, we never had a whole lot. We had a cabin. We didn't have a Zodiac. We had some other homesteaders here. We weren't here. We were probably here a couple of months. And they show up on a beach. Now, this is how community works. We know you guys don't have a boat. We want to give you a boat. First it was a loaner, no, we want you to have it. Because they knew we were serious. And not too long ago, her brother comes to us and says, we got a 19-footer for you with a 50 Honda on it. I said, you're joking. I said, if anything else happens here, I'm just going to go skyward. Just a sense of community and people taking care of themselves. I miss that. I think about the island, Mirasheen or Patricia St. Joseph's here. Her life, she was 9 when she left. And I was just about 4 years old when I left Mirasheen. And to come here, our souls are in line, man. I'm emotional now thinking about it,
No, I can appreciate because you're back where you started, for all intents and purposes.
Right where my grandfather and fathers were before, before resettlement and stuff like that, which I will talk to you one day because I could write a book on that horse shit. And how people, not necessarily how people, and yes, people got educated and they got this and that, but you know what? When your soul is removed from the land, it's different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to come back and get connected. Now, Brian, I got one more thing to tell you, and that's about that. Is he 78 years old, the weed smoker?
Yeah, 79, I think he said. No, that's just off top of my head.
I grow weed. I'm looking out my window now. I think there's 15 plants around here.
Yeah.
And out in the yard.
Yep.
And it's municipal. Makes you feel. I don't have to take narcotics like that gentleman. And nobody ever asked me when I went to pick narcotics up for a friend at the drugstore or sleeping pills or I don't know what people are picking up. Not once have I been asked that, can I see your ID? I don't know if that's happened to you. I know your producer, it has.
It depends on what you're asking for. I mean, I'm a content,
Well, I don't know. Patricia went in, we talked about it, and she had to pick up some Demerol for her friend, and she wasn't asked anything.
Everybody's in a different situation. It depends on, if you're picking it up for someone, I don't know. I mean, maybe more rural dispensaries are a little more, I wouldn't say lax isn't the right word, but, a little more homey than maybe a large commercial operation in a big city,
Not so much, and I realize, like you said, with the with weed being legalized, I know there's a transformation we all got to go through, whether it's ask for an ID or whatever the case. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense, buddy, when you're 60 to be asked for an ID.
Yeah. The problem is nobody knows how old you are. Nobody knows your background. Nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
When was
the last time you went into? When was the last time, Brian, you went into a liquor store and they asked you for your ID when you were picking up a bottle?
As I mentioned, it's funny you should say that. I use a lot of different liquor stores because if I went to the same liquor store for my bottle of wine every day, they'd probably be making calls to the authorities. But you try to mix them up a little bit because the same staff are working. And if I got to go to Rope Walk one day, I'm going down to Dominion the next, and maybe Merry Meeting the day after. That's just the life of a journalist. Moderation is the key to all of that. But all joking aside, I did mention to that gentleman earlier that I got ID'd when my late 40s in Toronto, and I walked away feeling great. But then I realized afterwards that they just have to ID everybody. They just do it just to cover themselves, right? So
exactly.
No one can ever say you didn't.
And I think that'll go by the wayside as we, as we move along here, anyway.
Yeah.
It's all new right now, and raw to everybody, so everybody can get, they can get a little cramped about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But listen, we just want to say to all the Newfoundlanders from St. Joseph's in Placentia Bay, never give up your dreams, never give up believing, think, and it will happen.
More power to that. If you believe in it enough, you have faith, deep faith in whatever it is you're doing, like, a deep faith and a deep motivation to do it. And I'm not talking about you think it's important or other people are doing it, but you can tell if something is deep in your soul and your heart that you really want to do.
I hope you can hear. I hope you can hear it in my voice, because me sharing it, I can hear it in yours.
Yeah, you hear people all the time talking about this was my dream, and whether it's a big star on a stage or whether it's somebody else just accomplished something that they've been wanting to do all their life, you can tell it's something they've been driven to do it, like by some other strong internal power, and then it'll happen. As you said, I said it in different words, but there is a faith and a belief in certain things, not all things, but you can tell when it's meant for something to follow, and it sounds like you found that in homesteading, Glenn. To say the least.
Brian Medora, I'll tell you one thing, that it's been a pleasure talking to you and your listeners, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Labor Day weekend.
Thanks, Glenn. I'll pass it on to Brian Medora in the newsroom.
Hey, listen, dude. Oh, yeah, sorry, Brian. Wrong.
It's okay. It's okay.
Anyway, listen. Hey, Brian, and also thanks for getting that out there. And if you're going to try this, just make sure your body's in shape.
Oh, you got it. No, I hear you there. Absolutely, 100%. All right.
Thanks, buddy. Have
Glenn,
a great
thanks.
weekend.
Yes, absolutely. You too. All right. A few minutes past the break, but I'm sure they'll probably let me go on that one. Let's take a quick break. Back with Walter Harding in a few minutes.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
And welcome back to the program. Just going back to the cannabis ID whole situation. My buddy Mike there sent me a text. Of course, yeah, you could be being ID'd for the seniors discount as well, but I imagine they would say that to you when you're, if you're not happy that you're being ID'd, you say, well, why are you IDing? They would say senior. I think that would be an obvious. Of course, if I'm 80, there are some young-looking 80-year-olds out there. Maybe they'd be on the fence. I don't know if you're going to question them. But anyway, there's something else to consider. And something else to consider on top of that is Walter Harding on line 1. You are on the air.
Brian, how are you, sir?
I'm okay for today. It's always interesting with a little bit of notice to jump in on Open Line. But again, as I mentioned, when we're off covering other things, you try to keep an eye and an ear to everything else that's going on. I do know there's a municipal election coming up, and I do believe you're a candidate.
You know something, Brian, and thank you very much for this a couple of minutes today. Yes, I'm very, very proud, very, very humbled to announce my candidacy for one of the 11 seats on our St. John's Council. So anybody in St. John's, all the business owners and residents, I'm not really one, and I'm like everybody else. We don't, nobody talks about themselves or separates a shoulder, patting themselves on the back. But I guess I should say just a couple of things for anybody who don't know who I am. So I'm just basically, when you talked about a passion and the gentleman just before me about the homesteading and stuff, I know I don't want it to sound corny or anything, but that is me to a T when it comes to my city.
I think that's the problem, Walter. People think it feels corny or whatever, but it's real, and people sometimes don't want to really acknowledge the real, serious thoughts and motivations that they have until they accomplish them, right? Because once you say you're going to do something, then the pressure's on to do it. And some people, just do it behind the scenes, accomplish it, and then you said you did, and then you don't have to worry about people always nagging you whether or not you did.
I totally get that. I've been, ran for council now for 4 times, and I've never, ever lost an election. And people say, well, you're not on council. I've met the most wonderful people. Some of them are my closest friends that I have in my life today. I never, ever, ever disappear after an election. I do my community work. I do my community cleanups. I do my advocacy. I don't need to be on council to try to help people. I mean, life is hard, and finding help shouldn't be hard. But when it comes around again for an election, I think that my lifelong volunteerism and the committed civic pride that I have to my city. My family moved when I was very young. It's the only time I ever told my mom a fib. I was very young, and they were moving to Ontario, and I said, yes, I'll be up in 2 months. Now, I knew I wasn't going, and I never will go. But I really appreciate being an ambassador for my city over the last 30 years or so. The community cleanups, of course, that we've been doing, some people have said to me, I've never seen a photo of you doing a cleanup, and you're not going to because I take the photo. I'm not in the photo. You're never going to see me front and center. I'm always pretty much bringing up the longest end of a line because I want to have everyone's back. So, yeah, I'm very proud to announce my candidacy as a very, very, very small budget. shoestring budget, but going to try to get to as many people. It's a big city for, trying to knock on the door. We don't. I mean, we haven't got $10,000 to send in the mail. A little card I have done up. So I apologize in advance if someone doesn't get our little card. I am on Facebook, and the Facebook has a little card on it. So just Walter Harding, and a very basic little website, and I mean very basic. Plain Jane, no fancy pants, just like me, just walterharding.com. And I would hope that people would just give me some consideration. I don't ever ask for anybody's vote. That's a very personal thing. All I would ask is that they consider me.
Yeah, it's you walk the fine line between humble and, you have to have some self-promotion in order for people to know who you are. And I know who you are. We all know who you are. I mean, your advocacy on every front. As you said, you're not just out there at election time. You're out there all the time. Walter, do you place much stock in election signs?
You have to be visible. I wouldn't mind at all if we were to put on a limit of, the sizes and the numbers and all that kind of stuff. You have to have a few signs. What I like is getting to speak to people face to face. When a candidate, sends an email or something, I don't know, especially with the AI and all that kind of stuff and the chat GPT, I'm not into that stuff. When somebody sends me an email or calls me, you're talking to Walter. I got an email from one, not in our city, but another candidate provincially, and I called right away because I was very impressed that they took the time to email me, and they were driving across the province. So it came from something other than them. Yeah. So I can assure people of a couple of things. I will not be using the chats or the AIs. Anything that you see that I attach my name to, it's from me. It's from my brain. I will never, ever put myself in a position where someone from the city will come to me and say, Walter, I think we have to talk about this vote, or it's something that you had input on because there might be a conflict of interest. That will never happen with me. I have a constitution that I must follow and I will follow. And voters in the city and business owners in the city, you never have to worry about me costing the city money for a by-election, for leaving to go to provincial or federal politics. I don't appreciate when people do that on council. It's money that we didn't budget for. My love is municipal, and that's where it will always be. So never worry that we have to spend $160,000 or $170,000 because Walter got courted to go to someone else. It's never going to happen. Yeah, ambition costs money too, and someone once said the answer to all your questions is money. And unfortunately, it does cost. Perfect world, you wouldn't have to. It wouldn't depend on how much money somebody has in the bank. But there is an echelon or a standing, I guess. Some people would say that you have to establish to be able to hold public office. I don't know how much income and that sort of thing. I mean, you could have a pretty day-to-day job and still care as passionately as you do about the municipal issues, and you may be able to verbalize that and communicate that as good as anyone who's been on council forever. Brian, I see a council as any kind of sports team. So I played hockey, I played rugby, I played every sport. Your hockey team has to have the goal scorers, your hockey team has to have the grinders, your hockey team has to have the fighters. I would consider myself a third or fourth liner when it comes to that kind of thing. When it comes to municipal, we have a lot of big ticket items. There's no question about it, and we will figure it out because we have to figure it out. And one way we're not going to figure it out is by putting our hands in taxpayers' pockets again. We have to think outside the box and do more with less. But I am very much, anybody who knows me, I'm very much tied to our core services. Yes, we have a lot of big ticket items. I totally agree. But at the same time, our water and sewer, garbage collection, fire and emergency service, snow clearing, and having a clean city and having there's so many places around town with the grass all growing up around catch basins. I mean, it's 4 feet high. And we used to mow that. I don't know why the city doesn't mow them now, and little easements that are going into walking trails in Cowan Heights. There's no reason why we should have a city that looks disheveled. We have the staff, we have the money, we have the resources, we have the vehicles, we have the fuel. So if I have a restaurant that only sells baked potatoes, I better make sure that's the best baked potato ever in the world. So do the easy things well, so we don't have to circle back, wasting time on figuring out why do we fool that? That's the easiest thing in the world to do. Let's do the easy things well, and then make sure that the big ticket items get handled, but not to sacrifice our core services. I hope that makes sense, Brian.
It does. One simple last question for you, and I say simple in quotes. So what's the city doing well right now, and what is it not doing so well that would prompt you to want to get in there and do and have at her?
Well, I'm a homeowner and a taxpayer, and when I see my taxes go up and my services go down, I'm not happy. And people say, give me an example. And I said, well, I will. We have a modest home, and we have a basement apartment that we don't rent. And I'd love to have a chat with you on another day about how many people have basement apartments and they decided to not rent anymore because of the lack of support they've gotten from law enforcement and the city when they have a problem tenant, and they're like, I'm not renting again, forget about it. But we have a basement apartment that we don't rent. So every year we fill out a form to say, you are free to come here at any time to come into our apartment and see that it's not occupied and we're not using it. So we get a water tax exemption. We just pay one water tax. Well, the city came out with this plan that you have to pay the tax unless you take out the power outlet for your stove downstairs. So that's way more than the water tax. So no one's going to do it. Plus, you got your house all tore up. That is one thing that they're doing wrong.
Yeah. That's the minutia that I think people don't realize that leads to other minutia.
It's a wrong thing to do, and sadly, because it affects the most vulnerable of us, our senior citizens, and our most vulnerable in the city. And if the city just let people keep that money, you know what's going to happen to them. I'm going to Brian's hair salon. I'm going to a shoe store. I'm going to put that money into the local economy, and as opposed to it to go to taxes, and then goodness knows if it was wasted or not. I'm not accusing anybody of wasting anything, but it's better to cycle the money through the city as opposed to just putting it into tax.
Yeah, I asked for an example. You gave me a great one, and I would just go really quickly back to you get elected for a full term. You don't believe in this jumping ship for another office?
No, I don't. Yeah. When there's been a couple of people, several people who've done that and were successful or weren't successful. I'll say two things on that, Brian. If you want to leave council and a provincial party or a federal party has courted you, well, you're free to leave. But when the by-election is called, the party that took you, they're paying for the by-election. Mm-hmm. If it's 180 grand, it's 180 grand. So whatever party it is that says to Brian, listen, we think you could do good work for us. Yeah, I think I will. And then you get elected, good. Now we'll expect a check from whatever party it was that took you. We'll expect a check for us to absolutely pay for that. And I will say this. You had mentioned about my mind just went blank that time.
Hey, I'm with you. I will just say maybe it'll jog.
Leaving council early. If it's for health reasons or for work, totally understandable. You know what I mean?
But just ambition kind of says, well, you elected me for this term, but I've decided that I'm going to go. I'm going to change my mind, basically, midstream or at some point. I'm with you. Without getting into individual, like you said, there are different circumstances. Every councillor, every person is different. But I'm with you on the fact that, I don't always like it when they do it because it seems to me that, the argument would be you're just trying to, hold a higher office to do more work. So that would be the argument. But by the same token, you're hired for a certain position. I'm with you. The basics, it's a novel idea what you're saying to compensate after the fact, and maybe somebody else will pick up that mantle and carry with it. Walter, past the break, thanks so much for the call. I wish you luck again. How many runs is this now?
The most important one.
Good answer.
The most important one.
Good answer. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you, Brian. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, Beth, let's take that break. Get back with Mike Murray right after the break.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly on this Friday before the long Labor Day weekend and back to school next week. I know I just made some people shudder. Still keeping an eye on the potential first commercial space launch from the St. Lawrence area. If you can get on the Nord Space website, there's a live feed, their live stream, and it's showing a hold at 12 minutes and 54 seconds in the countdown. So not sure exactly. We don't have a direct line to people there, but we're keeping an eye on the live stream. And again, weather being the main issue, and this is their last little window to get this to launch. And you can see a little bit of smoke billowing from the base of the rocket there, and it looks like beautiful, well, not clear sky, but winds are a big factor as well. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. In the meantime, off to Mike Murray, former retired Crown Attorney for the provincial government. On the air, Mike, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing, Brian?
All right, boy. People ask me, I'm just trying to be honest, but, it's open line. Anything and all things. Thanks for making a bit of time. What's on your mind?
Oh, I had a couple things that occurred to me this morning.
Sure.
Especially, I guess, with back to school and stuff. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the cameras on the buses and the speed cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the cameras on the buses are an excellent idea. I mean, I don't know why, if there's 1,000 buses, they only got a half dozen. I don't know why they're not on all of them. But the speed cameras, I think, are an issue, too. I mean, that's an issue that divides people. It's some people see it as a safety measure, and other people see it as a cash grab and a revenue generator. And, I mean, I'm generally in favor of speed cameras, but I think that if the government, if their issue is to create road safety, then it's important to do it right. And if the cameras are not done right, then they just become a speed trap and a cash grab. I mean, a good example for me is on Waterford Bridge Road going west. I mean, that's a real speed trap. I mean, I knew it was there because I've seen I saw the press releases and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're going west on Waterford Bridge Road, just as you pass the turnoff to the school.
You're talking St. Mary's there at the...
Yeah. When you go up a hill and around a little bend, and just as you come around the bend, there's a little tiny sign way up in the trees with a picture of a camera on it. I mean, that's a speed trap. I mean, if they want to increase public safety, there should be a sign a couple hundred feet down the road saying speed camera ahead, and the actual camera sign shouldn't be around a corner where you don't see it till you're on top of it. It should be up so you see it well in advance. It should be a big sign that says speed camera, watch your speed, 50 kilometers an hour or whatever it is. Right. But I mean, hiding it in the trees, I mean, that's not public safety. That's a speed trap.
Can't see the camera for the trees. The cameras for the trees. That area, though, I'm sure there's probably some people listening from that area. I mean, it's kind of my neck of the woods, literally where I grew up. It's clearly, demarked as a 30-kilometer-an-hour zone. It's a very narrow...
Isn't it only 30 kilometers during the school year? Like, I mean, that's another thing there. It's hard to figure out when it's 30 and when it's 50. In the summers, is it 30 all year round, or is it just 30 during the school year?
In the context of what we're talking about, school year, it's definitely 30, and that's the normal hours. And I should note, by the way, Council, just on that note, it just rang a bell in my head, that they just changed the laws, of course, for that in the city, that the signs are all changed now. So the school time, that you have to slow down in a school zone is now 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. as opposed to 7:30, which is what it was last year, just as a note. But you asked the question. It's a 50 zone, but, I think every property down, and it's a 50 during regular time, but I think every property down there in that neighborhood has a little slow with a picture of the kid.
They're all over the poles, because and that's confusing too.
Yeah, but because it's brutal down there, and they're doing whatever they can to make it awareness. I mean, it's such a narrow road. They're all there's almost no space. The sidewalks. If you're trying to pass further down by the cemetery, it can be white knuckle sometimes, because you still had some big trucks coming up and down there. It's been an issue down there, speeding forever, and they're even looking, I think, at changing. Remember when Pitts Memorial was closed for a while and all the traffic was redirected down that road? Neighbors just had a fit, but they're looking at designating that road. From what I saw in an application before council, as a collector, it was, and now they're looking at it. I think it was an arterial, one or the other. Anyway, they're looking at changing the designation, and that was as a result. Yeah.
I guess my basic point is that if your object is to slow people down and make it safer, a sign well in advance of the camera saying speed camera ahead is going to slow everybody down.
Yeah.
Whereas if you put up a sneaky speed trap sign around the corner, you're going to issue a few tickets, but you're not going to make it any safer.
Yeah. I think it's all a work in progress, if you ask me. I mean, the cameras are, without cameras, where would we be? I mean, you're a long-time Crown attorney. I mean, when you started out, cameras and video weren't what they are today.
No, for sure. It's definitely changed a lot of things.
Yep.
But I mean, like I said, I mean, the speed cameras is all about the philosophy. Are you trying to issue tickets, or are you trying to make it safer? And if you're trying to make it safer, then you do as much as you can to make sure people know the cameras are there. Don't hide them.
Yep, I agree. There's no sense just same with a vehicle if they're hiding on a side road next to the highway. I mean, they might get you and they might pull you over, but what's it doing to prevent it in the beginning, right? In the first place.
No, for sure. I mean, if you look at the highway, if the police set up a speed trap, they're going to issue a few tickets a day, but they're not really. Yeah. Everybody slows down when they see the cop has got some guy pulled over. Yeah. But it only lasts a minute. If there's actual vehicular presence on the highway, it's going to do a lot more to slow the speed of the average speed of traffic down.
And as myself and Patty and others have always said, nothing slows you down like a squad car, like a police car, just right there on the side of the road. I just did a lot of highway driving myself, and anything close to one, you can see the brake lights go on in front of you. Everybody's just very aware. So that's the first thing. Mike, I'm right at the top of the hour. Was there another topic I wanted to broach with you? Do you mind hanging on for a minute? We'll get right back to you after the news.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Okay, put Mike on hold there, Beth, for now. And off to the news, and we'll be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to Open Line for this Friday before the long Labor Day weekend. Brian Callahan in for Patty today. And a little bit of breaking news, of course, just as of 11 a.m., receiving from the provincial government, and it's good news. As good as news can be good in this situation that we have in Conception Bay North. The government is now advising residents of the unincorporated areas of Western Bay, Ochre Pit Cove, and the remaining portion of Northern Bay that the evacuation order issued on Tuesday, the 4th of August, going on almost a month ago, has been lifted, effective immediately. So those communities remain under an evacuation alert, but the evacuation order has been lifted. Effective immediately. So all residents permitted to return to these communities. Of course, they say, please, non-residents, if you're not from there, they'd appreciate if you could probably hold back for a while to, let these people be able to get in and assess, hopefully, some things that are left and, unfortunately, some things that are not. Give them the time and the space they need to get back there and make their own assessments. And the government says, while it's been deemed safe to return, residents reminded there's still an active wildfire. Even though, the weather, you might think, especially if you're in around metro area, you might be lulled into a false sense of security that it's all over and done with. But there are still easily, given, the dry last winter, that the ground is still, is so fertile for these kinds of things. Just all we need is another little spell of hot weather, and here we go again. So doing their best to stamp it out as best they can. There's also debris, throughout the community. A lot of rainfall recently that can cause issues too. So that's it there for now. The evacuation order for Western Bay, Ochre Pit Cove, and remaining portion of Northern Bay has been lifted. The evacuation alert continues, so stay on your horses for that. Okay, sorry, wanted to get that out there. Let's go back to Mike Murray and resume conversation there. Mike, thanks for holding on.
Oh, no problem.
So you may know, and of course, one other thing we were touching on, and I do appreciate a little bit of clarification on this. I've been covering the Tony Humby trial now since the charges were laid back in April of 2023, so, more than 2 years ago. And we're well past what they refer to as the Jordan timeline, because this is a provincial court matter, indictable as it is, very serious 72 sexual violence charges. Well past the Jordan timeline, and some people stop me on the road and say, how is it? It's more than 2 years. Why hasn't that been, what's going on with that? And I hear you talking about Jordan. Can you, in the most layman terms, explain for people, as a Crown prosecutor, can you imagine, is there, if you were Crown on this case, would you have concerns? And this is very much in the judge's bailiwick, is it not?
Well, it's not just a discretionary call on behalf of the judge. They've set up some rules since the case came into effect, a few years back. The bottom line is this. So when a criminal charge is laid and the clock starts ticking from your first appearance, when the information's sworn, right, you got 18 months in provincial court and 30 months in Supreme Court to get through the case. The lines are pretty hard, but what happens when you actually, let's say, when you blow past the 18 months, Lots of times there's not going to be a Jordan application because it's pretty straightforward. For example, if you're charged with impaired driving, let's say, and you tell the court, I want a 6-month postponement. Can we pick it up in the spring because I want to go out to Alberta, make a few dollars, and so I can hire a lawyer when I get back.
Right.
If the judge says okay, I mean, that's clearly on you. It's not on the Crown. So lots of times things are so straightforward, there's no Jordan applications made. But when a Jordan application is made, the first thing that happens is that they order a transcript of what's happened in court so far. And because the case will have been called a bunch of times. And they divide up the time. So it's 18 months, but it's only if it's 18 months on the Crown, or 30 months in Supreme. I'll stick with the 18 because it's simpler. So, if you appear in court and you say, well, I need some time to get a lawyer, and you come back next month and say, I still don't have a lawyer yet. And then it's like 2 months later when the case gets called and you finally lawyered up. Well, those 2 months are going to come off the top. So the first thing that the judge would have to do is divide up the delay. Who goes to, which delay goes to which side. So it's only when you got 18 months of delay that can be attributed to the Crown that it actually counts against the Jordan timeline. And then there's always tangly things like, let's say you have 90% of the disclosure, and you should be, for all intents and purposes, you should have a good idea which way you're going to go, guilty or not guilty. But you want a transcript of a particular statement. Like, is that going to be on the Crown or is that going to be on you? Because because at that point you're just dotting I's and crossing T's. So that's where the discretionary thing comes into it.
And, I get people stop me all the time, either outside court or outside, and they say, that's all fine, but you know what comes up? It's the technicality. Is he getting off on a technicality? Now, there are rights that the accused has, of course, when they go before the court. And, the question I get is, well, how in the world? I mean, in a case like this, and I know you're not the Crown, so you can't speak specific to all the evidence, but we do know in the public domain that Mr. Humby's co-accused here, Bruce Escott, implicated Mr. Humby throughout his trial. According to him, worked in concert, did all these things. It was fascinating for me as a reporter to sit there, listen to all of those allegations against Mr. Humby, even though Mr. Escott had been convicted. So he's convicted. The court sees him as a guilty party and accepts his testimony, and yet Mr. Humby is still to be tried. How much of a tangle is that?
It wouldn't be a tangle for a judge. A judge takes an oath to decide a case on the evidence ahead of him, or in the trial, and not to take into account anything else. Look, a perfect example is, let's say, somebody's charged with murder, and they make a confession to the police, and the judge decides that the guy didn't have his rights to a lawyer sufficiently explained to him, and rules the confession can't go into evidence. But then he can go on and still hear the whole trial. He's supposed to be able to put that confession out of his head and go on and hear the rest of the evidence. I mean, that's what we pay him the big bucks for.
Yeah, is it fair for some people to call it a technicality when the allegations are the allegations, but the actual court procedure may have been breached?
Well, I don't see. I mean, the right to be tried within a reasonable time has been around for a while, since the charter came in 50 years ago. Where Jordan changed things is that before Jordan, there was a case called Askov.
Yes.
And, it said, sure, you got a right to be tried within a reasonable time. But sometimes these cases take time. And if you want the charge thrown out, you've got to show that this delay negatively affected you. Now you don't have to show any negative effect. It's just because the Supreme Court of Canada are a bunch of ivory tower people. And, and they say, well, here's the lines. We don't care if you were negatively affected or not. If it took too long, then it's gone. I mean, they certainly moved it closer from a substantive right to a technicality.
Yeah.
There's no doubt they've moved the goalposts further to a technicality. And also, I mean, because they don't operate in what I would consider the real world, I mean, Jordan causes public safety issues. For example, you got someone charged with impaired driving causing death, and the police got to send a blood sample from the driver off to the lab. Or someone that they believe committed a murder, but they got to wait for the DNA. Or like every firearm that they seize has to be tested under the criminal code to show that it's functioning. Or drugs, if you get, So all those things, you're talking about a 6-month delay in the labs. And because of the Jordan timelines, the police don't feel comfortable in laying charges until the tests come back. And so as a result, a lot of times you have dangerous people on the streets. Let's take the drug example. If they raid your house and they seize $100,000 worth of cocaine, well, they're not charging you that day. They're waiting to send the drugs off and get the lab test back in 6 months' time. But in the meantime, you as a drug dealer, I mean, the people you fronted the drugs out are out $100,000, and they want their money back. I mean, how are you going to make money to pay them back? By going out and selling more drugs? So it actually is a public safety issue. When the police can't lay charges until the tests come back.
Yeah, and last thing on that, and we're getting close to a break. I just want to mention, I hear all the time that that's all fine. The actual charges. Sorry, you just mentioned the case of, say, the drug dealer in the house and that sort of thing. I hear murmurs that this just isn't, it's not realistic, 18 and 30 right now. And that is a conglomeration of the delays we see in the court system right now. Whether it's, the bar has been lowered somewhat, maybe for some people, because right now, who do you want being held in custody pending a trial or a charge? Is it the sex offender, or is it the impaired driving causing death? It's a fine line right now. And with the length of time and the resources, I'm hearing 18 isn't even reasonable. Do you see changes coming? I'm hearing murmurs of that.
So some lower courts have said, maybe the remedy doesn't have to be throwing out the charges altogether. Maybe the remedy could be a shorter sentence if your rights were violated. But so far, I think the Supreme Court of Canada it's never been directly in front of them. But when the Chief Justice goes to talk to lawyers and judges in conferences and stuff, I mean, they don't seem to be very keen on that idea at all. But I'll give you a perfect example. Those big corporate commercial frauds, the $1 million frauds and the Ponzi schemes and stuff. I mean, you don't see them in court anymore because it's not possible to do that within the timelines. Complex frauds can take years to investigate and years to get through the court system. And, you look on the docket and you never see the big frauds anymore unless it's really straightforward. A lot of times the victims will just sue people in court if there's any way to get the money back. And if it's not, nothing happens.
Yeah, bump it into civil. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, lots of times, that's not even worth anybody's while because the accused has blown all the money on gambling and drugs or whatever.
And the odds of getting it back. Yeah.
You never see big white-collar frauds on the docket anymore. So the end result of Jordan is exactly what the Supreme Court of Canada says is wrong, is that the poor people who steal go to jail, and the rich people who steal walk away. And that's a direct result of Jordan.
Wow, there's a place to leave it. I'll look forward to taking that up with you again the next time, and maybe that'll generate a couple of calls. Mike Murray, listen, man, I always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for finding it for me today.
All right. Bye-bye.
God love you. See you later. All right. Thanks, Mike. I'm in trouble again, Beth. I'm really sorry. Let's take the break. Be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line number 1. And Dr. David Gill with the Faculty of Education. You're on the air.
Oh, hi. How's it going?
Great, sir. Thanks very much for making some time today. Now, of course, the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Programs and Associate Professor in the Faculty of Education at MUN. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh,
yep.
I'm off.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just always about getting the title right, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, title's not that important. So I just wanted to touch base with you and your listeners and let the province know about a new program that we have for education degrees. We've partnered with the Department of Education over the last several months, and they're funding and they're helping fund this, but we're doing a primary elementary rural cohort. So what we're doing is we've taken our regular second degree program. So somebody with a bachelor's already can roll in and get a primary elementary degree within 4 or 5 semesters. But we're taking that and we're moving it to a remote hybrid flex kind of model for potentially rural students. So basically, we're aiming this at people that live outside of St. John's and other urban centers who are connected to their community, are engaged in their community, and might be looking for a career change. They can't come to St. John's and commit to a year and a half or so away from their families or work and things like that. So it's a really interesting program and opportunity. We have 25 seats. We've had our applications open since late July, and we want our seats filled. So and we'll be taking applications. Like our priority application deadline is September 15th. So those are the ones that we're really looking at. But we'll take applications up to December the 13th. So it's a really great opportunity for anybody that would like to do a degree, but can't travel and can't live in St. John's for a year or two. Do you already have to be a student? Like, do you already have to have that undergraduate? You do have to have an undergraduate degree finished. Okay. Yeah. So and all the admissions requirements. The easiest thing is to Google MUN Education Rural Cohort. That first hit will bring people to all the admissions requirements, all the program requirements, and things like that. So we're starting in the winter of 2026, right? So that'll be the start date, and then we're going for 5 consecutive semesters. So somebody who is in this program then will finish in the spring of 2027, August, right? So ready for a job. So. What was the impetus, if you don't mind me asking? What's the genesis of this? Who came to who and why? Oh, I think it was a collaboration between the department and the faculty and other stakeholders. Just that, as you and your listeners are aware, it's been tough filling classrooms with teachers lately, and especially in rural areas. So another, brainstorming and looking for alternate ways to, get more teachers, especially in the rural areas. You might not remember, but about 10 years ago, we had too many teachers. Right, the market was flooded. The faculty cut back on its seats and things like that. But now we're in the opposite direction. So trying to find a balance where we don't flood the market, but also where we have teachers in classrooms. So it's a really interesting program. We've got 25 seats, and we'd like them filled. Yeah, 25 seems like you should get some uptake on that, and I totally understand the reason. I have to ask the question sometimes, but yes, the numbers, especially in rural Newfoundland, need to be topped up. Dr. Gill, we're coming up to the bottom of the break, but I'd be remiss if I didn't get a chance quickly just to ask you your impressions of the 10-year education accord that was released this week. You got me on the spot. Out of the blue. I've only downloaded it. But have you been following much of it? Do you generally know what's,
what's...
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Well, yes, we've had consultations with the Faculty of Education and the Accord, and two of our professors were the co-chairs of that, Dr. Karen Goodnow and Dr. Ann Burke. So, yeah, we're pretty connected there. Now, my dean, Dr. Pamela Osmond Johnston, was at the release yesterday, and she's kind of been the lead on that in our faculty.
Right.
So she would probably have a lot more to say. All I will say is that, it's a big, interesting document. Yeah, it's a big document, interesting document. I think there was 110 recommendations or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and the Faculty of Education was mentioned, an awful lot in there. So, moving forward, we'll be doing some strategic planning now in the fall for the next, 3 to 5 years or whatever the cycle is. So, yeah, that document will probably most likely be at, one of the centerpieces of our strategic planning moving forward. But I won't say anything about the content because I've only downloaded and looked at the contents in a few pages.
Yeah, well, that's more than I've had a chance. So that's why I threw that softball at you.
Yeah, no, that's no. Yeah, so yeah, my job today is to sell the rural cohort,
absolutely,
the rural cohort degree program.
Right.
So, and the only other thing I'll say about that is it is a full-time program, though, right? So it does mirror our program. It will just be delivered in a remote modality. So classes, you'll still have to show up for class, but they'll be synchronous online. It's not going to be like it won't be asynchronous. It won't be like a distance, through the mail kind of program. It will be synchronous. You will be connected with your professors and your peers. Right. And we're also looking at a hybrid model, depending on where our students come from, to partner with local, education partners and, potentially small pods of students will be able to come together face-to-face for, special occasions or throughout the semester, so that they're not totally isolated, in their bedroom or whatnot. But we've got a very strong team of distance education people that are behind this as well. And we want to see it succeed. And first go around, hopefully it's really good, and hopefully it's something that if the need is still there, we can continue with another cohort. So, yeah, just trying to get that out there. I know, the listening audience here is, right across the province. And, hopefully we'll get those 25.
Yep, you got it out there. And I love your bio right at the end. Dr. Gill likes chickens.
Yeah, who doesn't like chickens?
You do.
Well, there you go.
You know what? Let's leave that hanging with us chickens, and we'll elaborate on that one the next time they throw me into this job for a day.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks again, Dr. Gill, with the Faculty of Education. I'm really sorry. Beth, my God, I don't know how apologies. Is it going are my apologies landing? I'm really sorry. A couple of minutes over the break, no big sweat. Let's get back with Pam Parsons after the break.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
And welcome back to the final home stretch of Open Line for this Friday, the Friday before the long Labor Day weekend. And let's go right to line number 4. And patiently waiting is the MHA for Harbour Grace, Portagrave. Pam Parsons, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian, to you and to all your listeners. And yes, I have been patiently waiting and listening to your calls. You're very inquisitive, and I appreciate that about you. Your conversations are good, so you're here.
Well, appreciate that. There's lots to converse about, as you can appreciate. Are you out in? I assume are you out in your district?
I am indeed. I'm here in Bay Roberts, where I live, and but I just wanted to call in again and just to extend a sincere thank you to all the volunteer firefighters and as well as the Avalon North Wolverine Search and Rescue and every volunteer throughout the district of Harbour Grace, Portagrave, who have come forward to help with our neighbouring constituents, of course, in the neighbouring district where the fires are happening along the CBN North Shore. As we know, the past month, really, ultimately, it's been, everybody's been on edge with these wildfires. And again, I can't say enough about the volunteer firefighters in my district, every department here, Harbour Grace Brigade, Upper Island Cove Fire Department, as well as Spaniards Bay Tilton Department, and of course the Bay Roberts Fire Rescue, as well as Beta Grave, and many more have been involved. The search and rescue are coordinating, all the traffic and the roadblocks and everything that's happening down there. They're still down there assisting. I spoke with the coordinator just yesterday about that. They've been there from the start. They're still there. So, and again, I can't emphasize enough gratitude. It's words just simply do not justify the gratitude that we all feel. Because, Brian, as you can appreciate, we all sleep easier at night knowing that these men and women are there to answer the call 24/7, whether it's fire, whether it's any kind of emergency, highway traffic accidents, you name it, they're there. And, of course, not only during the times of emergency, they are there year-round to help out with all community events that are happening, whether it be fundraising, Santa Claus parades, you name it, they are there. They're the heart and soul. I always say they are the most courageous volunteers in the world, and so my heart goes out to them. And I'm also very pleased to announce that all the departments in my district, Harbour Grace, Portagrave, will be receiving the wildland coveralls, which are as we know, these are the equipment that equip them better to maneuver for a wildfires as opposed to the bunker gear, the traditional bunker gear. So each department here in Harbour Grace, Portagrave will receive 6 sets of those coveralls, and that's appreciated. But I say every bit of support that we can get for our volunteer firefighters is certainly welcomed, and it's deserving. So again, hats off to them, and thank you so much for everything that they continue to do.
Yeah, I don't think really people. It's like anything. People are going to have difficulties grasping this unless they are physically on the ground. I mean, we hear the reports until you see it, and we're being very careful with video and photographs for now, of course, because some people may not have had a chance to see their properties yet. But just I don't need to tell you. You're out there, and you're talking to people. It's your neck of the woods, and your neck of the burnt woods.
It's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And those people, what they're going through, like literally, they've lost. There are some who've lost everything. I spent time down at the evacuation center when it was first established in Purcellville, just down in that district near Salmon Cove in Victoria, the school, and talking to those people. I mean, they were displaced. They had nowhere to go, and thankfully, volunteers came together, and of course, they had shelter. And even their pets were accommodated. I was happy to see that. I'm an animal lover. And, of course, you can imagine. But, unfortunately, there are people who weren't able to save their pets. And, the reports of livestock that have been impacted and have lost their lives. I mean, it's just heartbreaking, the stories. But I can't imagine. But that said, though, Brian, amid all the wildfires, there was a close call, actually, in Spaniards Bay, which is in my district. It's my hometown where I grew up. And a fire broke out that started. It's believed to have started in the graveyard. I think with a glass bulb.
Was this the one, Pam, just a week or so ago, where it just happened out of the blue, and on top of everything else, seemed like, and then they were quickly been able to action that one?
Absolutely, right, that is. It was a few weeks ago now, I guess. I guess about 2 weeks ago. It's hard to keep track of the timeline because it's been a very frustrating, very stressful blur for a lot of people. But yes, a fire broke out and it got big and it very quickly. But thank God the Spaniards Bay Department, along with neighboring departments, they responded immediately. They were there, and of course, with the aerial response, they were able to extinguish that fire pretty quickly. It could have been very bad, very fast. And the flames were huge. I mean, it was a big fire, but thank God they were there, and they were able to put that out, and there were no homes impacted. And obviously, thank God there haven't been no lives lost during any of these fires, which is ultimately the most important thing. But again, I just can't say enough about them. And but it's good to see that they're getting this new equipment. The Premier announced that I think it was $100,000 for these new sets of gears for all the departments that were involved. But I have talked to them and thank you. And now I do want to change gears quickly. As we know, we're coming into the long weekend, and Monday is Labor Day. And I'm the Minister for Labour. So I just want to thank all workers across Newfoundland and Labrador for their significant contributions to our economy here in this province. So I wish everybody a safe and happy Labor Day weekend. It's been a warm summer, as we know, and I think kids they're heading back to school as well next week. So I hope everybody enjoys a nice, safe, and happy weekend, and hats off to a good school year.
Yeah, I echo all of that. I'll let you go on that. It just as far as the fires go, though, Pam, like, you know, if there's one thing that's come out of this, it's the experience of it. This is not like anything we've really experienced as far as these weather events. And, you know, we're all prepping and worrying about what hurricane seasons are going to look like. And lo and behold, before we even get there, this hits us, which, you know, we've had forest fires before, but this, everyone, I think, agrees, this is on a different level. And, you know,
we've never seen this. I mean, we know this happens in Alberta, but it looks like with climate change and what we're seeing, we have to prepare. I mean, what we've seen happen this past summer, this is going to change the way we say, you know, plan for infrastructure, the way we plan for budgets, the way we plan for equipment. And as you know, the response and the support that's going to come out of this to help those people rebuild. And
just the little, you know, like the thing you mentioned, the little things that we're learning. You know, glass in a cemetery. Who would have thought, right? I mean, all these little, and then of course the new outfits for the, as you said, they'll be outfitted. The fire department, the volunteer firefighters, getting all of that. These are all, you know, reactionary, yes, because we haven't really had to deal with these kinds of things before. But it's a learning experience too, and we're going to have to get used to it.
Absolutely. And that's, if I could conclude on this note, if we're here in the district, as we know, it is construction season, and I'm pleased to say we will be getting new paving on Route 70 through Spaniards Bay. So just a respectful reminder to motorists to watch for those employees who will be conducting this work as well. I'm happy to say we just got the Holy Redeemer School has been painted.
Yes.
And it's nice fresh coat of paint. And so there's some work happening all around the district. So it is that, you know, that small window that we have for construction season, but it is happening. And I'm always advocating for pavements across the entire district. Of course, that's a very important part of being an MHA. I think pavement and healthcare are among the very top priorities that people want to talk about.
Those two things,
right?
chalk and cheese, but let's face it, you know, it's real life.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, again, have a nice, safe weekend, everyone. And, again, thank you so much to our workers across Newfoundland and Labrador. I think everywhere Newfoundlanders and Labradorians go across the country, whether it's for work, we have that reputation of being very hard, quality workers. So hats off to them. Have a safe Labor Day, everyone. And, Brian, I look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thank you so much, Pam Parsons, the Liberal MHA for Harbour Grace, Port de Grave, Labour Minister, of course. Shout out for the Labor Day weekend. Thanks, Pam. Anytime.
Thank you. Take good care.
You too. Okay, that's Pam. And Pam mentioned there the painting of Holy Redeemer. Shout out to the painters who put a nice face on, the new face on Holy Heart of Mary Regional High School, the largest high school in the province, which I live very close to. Watched them painting that over the summer, and that's not just a lick of paint. That was long overdue. They just got to now change the color of the Holy Heart of Mary Theatre sign because it's the same color as the dark and you can't see it. But anyway, maybe one of those lit up signs like the Majestic Theatre did downtown, maybe one of those for the theatre. Yeah, you never know. But there is still one window I think has to be repaired. I've been waiting for that one. That'll be the final touches. But nice paint job on Holy Heart. Shout out to the painters. Let's take that last break, and when we come back, Paul Lane to finish off the week.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Bigland FM radio network.
And welcome back into the final call of the week. And Paul Lane, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you this morning?
Good, sir. Hope you don't mind picking up the rear.
No problem at all. I'll take a spot wherever I can get one.
You will.
Yeah, I will indeed. Brian, a couple of things before I get to my main subject. I just want to start by, once again, as I did last time I was talking to Paddy, just to say that, like everybody, I'm sure, my thoughts are certainly with the people impacted by these wildfires, and also just to give a big shout-out to all the first responders who've done a remarkable job, and hopefully the worst is behind us in terms of the fires now, and of course there's going to be still difficult times ahead when it comes to the rebuilding and trying to get people back into their homes and getting communities back up and running. But I'm sure if we all pull together that we'll get through it like we do everything else.
I don't know what else to say other than we can't say enough about them. Either the as you said, the first responders or what the people are going through out there. And it's our backyard. People have to remember. We hear a lot of stuff in the news. Things going on in other parts of the world and other parts of Canada, that sort of thing. This is here. It's real, and it's something a lot of us have never even seen before, can get our heads around. So, and unless you are affected directly in by it, it can be hard to wrap your head around. There's no question. So, the work that's going on out there, we'll do our best to relay it to the public and show what's going on. It's still early days for a lot of the people who've lost everything. So we have to be sensitive to that and very careful about that. So I hear you, Paul, and I echo everything you said.
Yeah, for sure. Another very quick thing, I just want to say that it isn't amazing what happens when there's an election, I guess, in the offing.
You're not skepticism. You're not expressing some skepticism about that now, as an independent MHA.
Listen, I don't think it matters who's in government, what political stripe. We've seen all this before, but I just want to highlight a couple of what I consider amazing announcements, things that certainly myself and other members have been pushing for the last 4 years that government did yesterday and again today. The one, of course, that came out today, which was a great one, I thought, was and it's going to help a lot of low-income families, a lot of seniors, and that's increasing the thresholds to qualify for some of these home repair programs, home energy programs, home modification programs, and certainly something that the Seniors Advocate had been calling for as well. And I think that that's a great announcement. Also, the one yesterday on allowing nurse practitioners to be able to bill MCP again for 4 years. We were pounding the government on this and getting nowhere. But all of a sudden, it's happening. I'm glad it's happening. I don't care what the motivation is. I'll give both announcements a big thumbs up because it's going to help a lot of people.
Unfortunately, this is when we get our leverage, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And again, that's not this administration, this political party. It's just the way it's always been. Probably,
that's right.
Unfortunately, the way it always will be. So, I'm just glad that it's happening finally. And like I say, it's going to help a lot of people. So that's good enough for me. I did just want to touch on, I guess, the issue with the MOU and to kind of reiterate, I guess, some of the points.
The Churchill Falls MOU.
The Churchill Falls MOU, and just to kind of reiterate some of the points I've heard from others, and that is, this is a generational project. This is a generational decision. It's going to impact us for many, many years to come. It should not be turned into some kind of political election issue. It really shouldn't. I really still don't think that the people, including myself, necessarily have all the expertise, all the knowledge, all the information, quite frankly, to really make that informed decision yet. And I just want to say that one of the big things that came out of the Muskrat Falls inquiry for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, was the recommendation that was made by Judge LeBlanc, or Justice LeBlanc, or whatever the title was, and a very, a totally independent person who did that. We spent millions of dollars on this inquiry, and that recommendation is that if we are going to enter into any further big projects of this nature, I believe the number he put on it was $50 million. I could be wrong on the number, but certainly any significant projects, that it would receive an independent review first. Now, I know that one of the things that myself and Eddie Joyce and that had negotiated, I suppose, when we had the last sitting of the House, the special sitting, on the MOU, which really was more political theater than anything, because the MOU had already been signed 2 or 3 weeks before we even opened the House. So it's not like we were deciding on whether to be an MOU. There already was an MOU. But one of the things certainly that we did manage to get out of it was at least some form of independent review of the MOU process, which is happening with Mr. Brown and his team.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, there's a big difference between sort of following up on and a review of the process versus an independent review of the actual definitive agreements themselves. So I would say, on that issue, from my point of view, there should be no definitive agreement signed until there is an independent review of those agreements by people who are not just independent but have the expertise and ability to be able to tell the people of Newfoundland and Labrador whether it's the right thing to do. And I guess that would be my position position on it, and I certainly don't think it should be vote for us if you want the deal, vote for the PCs or whoever if you don't want the deal. It's too important to make it simply political fodder. Like I say, it's something that's going to impact us for years and years to come.
Yeah, I just think it's so close to when the MOU and the announcement was made, and the election is coming, and everything seems so compacted, and people keep asking, what's the rush? You know, they don't want to miss their window. We know Quebec is in a hurry. But when everybody, Paul, you know, and this is just me watching it and not trying to read the tea leaves, but when all of the parties are talking about the aggressive, I'm prepared for any minute to hear something that says, you know, we're going to pump the brakes, like we're not going to delay it, but we are going to, you know, just for the realities of a deal that we continue to call probably the largest, not probably, I mean, if the 69 deal was the biggest, then this has to be the biggest since then. And so
100%.
When we talk about the massive implications of this, you know, people just want to make sure that, obviously, let's not do it all again. And, you know, when everybody's talking about it's aggressive, in other words, they're saying it may be a bit rushed. If their heads are there now, I can't imagine that much has changed. It'll probably just exacerbate itself before the signing of all the agreements that is scheduled for next spring. But that's just me trying to read the tea leaves. Paul Lane, really appreciate the call. Thanks again for finding some time at the end of this week.
Thank you, Brian. Always a pleasure. You did a great job again today, as usual, and look forward to speaking to you again sometime.
Really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Paul.
Have a good one.
Okay, you too. And last quick check on that rocket launch. It looks like now it's been delayed till about 3 p.m. Newfoundland time. I thought the window would close at 11, but it looks like they're still going to give it a go later on today, so stick with VOCM for news for updates on that. Thanks to all the callers today. What can I say? You're all right. Stay safe, everyone.